Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys had an awesome Tuesday. I'm finally back in town after being away for a couple of days. My first time away from the market in probably over a year, but feel good to be back. Good market today. Things are heating up, and I want to break down every single trade from this morning, really in depth, trade by trade, so that way you can do it too going into tomorrow. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So we came into the open today and we saw a lot of action in pre-market. We had GLTO up over 600%. We had ZMB up over like 400%. So a lot was to be looked at this morning. And thing is, both of those really didn't give much opportunity after market open. I did have some good trades actually on GLTO, which we'll actually break down, but ZMB was kind of dead in the water, and a few others I just didn't really like. Now, we know the market has been a little bit slow past through really September, and as we go into this week now, I see a lot of better action. Thankfully, as we head into the late fall and early winter months, and stuff is looking really good. Now, we came into the open, I was looking at PRHI, and this thing makes a big move. Now, not much volume back in pre-market today. We can see here this sort of thin price action. It gets breaking out with volume going out of market open. Now, we look at the daily time frame. What do you see? Well, we see the break of the all-time high over $1.32, or it might not be all-time high. Maybe it was a ticker change, or but at least in the case of this, it looks like all-time highs on trade ideas. And so I see that, and I say we have a clear sky setup here. This thing looks really nice, and I wanted to try to play this. And so it tries to break up out of the open. And in a big way, it does. It pulls back, and I wait for confirmation. It puts in place a bottom here off of VWAP, and then I take the next pullback. From there, I got the exact move that I was looking for, and I actually have 3 wins on this today, playing it from 160s all the way up into the lower 180s, just playing the simple break of the all-time high, wait for it to break, confirm off these pullbacks back over VWAP, of course, not chasing the first breakout. All of you taking losses at market open and then wondering why, well, this is why. So waiting for it to pull back and find buyers out of the open off of VWAP. Once it did that, that was the opportunity there, risking off of VWAP for the range back up through highs and got that perfect move. Of course, took full profit after it began to break back down. So that was a great way to start the morning. Got some cushion to work with and then went on from that. Moving on, we had GLTO, which I was watching this morning. This thing was a 600% gapper, and it looked pretty good on a market open where we actually have this lower high form going into market open, then we can actually take the break up. And so this tries to make a move out of market open, and you can see it reclaims trend and actually halts up right here. Well, it reclaims trend, halts up, and then tries to test this level to break up higher on the break of trend. And once it does, that was my entry confirmation, and I actually got a pretty solid move here back up into these previous highs from, you can see here, 26s all the way back up into the 30s. And so my big concern here is we have this big sell-off happen off the highs. So I know we had sellers sitting all through this price range. This was all an area of overhead supply, which is why I took profit where I did and was able to capture this for a really nice win. Then, of course, we also had these higher lows sitting off the bottom here. We can see this wick to this wick. And so I was looking to see this get curling back up, and it actually did make that move, although I didn't love it too much. I took it for a very small win here, playing the little reversal. And then, of course, played the reclaim and got some good profit out of this little range, although it was a very tight range, not a whole lot to be had there. Overall, really good opportunities. This was one of the most obvious stocks in the market today, being it was up over 600%. Overall, pretty good stuff. The only concern with stuff like this is when you have a high share price name with a low float, you're always going to see a bit of a wide spread. Of course, that adds risk. I can't take as much size. I don't have as much conviction. Just not really my cup of tea. I like stocks within the $1 to $5 range. That's my typical favorite. Once you get up into the 25s, 30s, 40s, 50s, stuff starts to get a little bit funky. ULY was interesting. This thing made a nice move out of the open. I had a little bit of a scalp off the flush where I played this really tight from 540 to 550. Not really a whole lot to be had here. I wanted to see a reclaim VWAP, but kind of a short-lived move. Broke down, took my small profit, walked away from it. Moving on from that, though, we did have CISS. This is where stuff starts to get pretty interesting because this makes a massive move, and I really wanted to play it right here, which I would have obviously had a massive win here. But the issue was I was watching at this time GLTO, which was halted, which I was in. I was stuck in the halt up, and that's where I got the move to 30 on. So I'm watching that for the resumption. I get my profit taken on GLTO, but in the meantime, this is making this move, and I miss it here. Then it halts up here, resumes in a strong way, and pulls back off this previous candle's low. I try to take pullbacks for the curl up higher. Of course, I don't get that curl up higher. This starts to knife on down. Thankfully, only had a quarter size on this, very small risk. So right here, I was only down about a half of a typical loss. And so at that point, I'm still pretty happy because I know if it sets up again, I can easily just knock that out of the park. That's exactly what we did next. So this pulls back. Again, this looks backside now because it was, but then it reclaims trend. So we can see here, again, price breaks to the backside, but then reclaims. And so we see this knife down through this moving average and underneath VWAP. Well, then price again curls back above to reclaim, and now I'm looking for pullbacks. And so what you can see here on a larger time frame, a little bit better, we'll switch to a 3-minute time frame. You can see the exact setup here that I took is, look at this. We have the simple reclaim. I take the first break where it pulls back. I get a nice little profit there. But the big thing here that I was looking at was this next pullback where we have, look at this, higher low forms the next higher low. And so took the entry here on this pullback, risking off a VWAP for the range back up into the highs. And I got that exact move here. And so while I came in and I had two little tiny losses on it, I was down about a half of an R. I then came back and took the perfect entry off this pullback, and I was able to capitalize here from both 470 all the way back to 490s, and then again from 450s all the way back up into the 520s. And again, just played the simple pullback off these higher lows where I was looking for that confirmation back to the upside, and we got that picture perfect move. Again, could not get any better. Super easy. Range back up into the previous high of day, which we got to a T. And overall, I really couldn't be happier with this one here. So all that being said, super happy with today. A good way to come back in, break the ice on the new week. But that really does sum up the entire morning. So as always, if you did learn something from this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button for daily content just like this. And as always, check the description out down below. Claim your 7-day free trial to watch me trade stocks just like these in real time every single day and get my watch list, alerts, education, chat room access, and so much more. And that being said, I will see you guys back there tomorrow for hopefully an even better day ahead.